Hello,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Isabelle. Thank you for this
Very
session.
good, very good. And thank you for joining me today. I know it's a little bit later where you are based, so I really appreciate that. Making the time to be with me and share your expertise with me and my audience. It's very appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I am really looking forward for this session.
Great. So, what I wanted, I was really interested in what you do because I think what you're involved in is what's going to be more and more the case, I think, in all organizations is transformation. So, I was just wondering if you could introduce yourself in a few words. And especially, I'm interested in understanding why you chose to work in HR transformation within your current company.
All right. So yeah, it's an interesting question, and I would like to answer it. Just to give my introduction, and I'll try to weave how my personality actually makes me come to HR transformation. So I'm Monica Shah. I am based in India, Mumbai. Um, by education, I am a psychologist who has studied clinical psychology, and as a profession, I moved into HR. However, in India, we don't have, a license that is required to practice as a psychologist. So my initial years, I practiced as a psychologist, and then gradually I have moved into the HR domain. So this entire combination actually makes me more about a person who is curious, creative, and observer, and is always in the watch out of an opportunity as well as challenges, and which works very well with the concept of transformation, because transformation is about being proactive to really understand that there is going to be a need, that we need to adapt, or we need to think that this is the way or this is the direction that the company can go, and people will have to adapt. So I think that's the reason I am where I am. And yes, destiny has been good with me. It is also taking me to this pathway. And initially, I had never thought that I would be in HR transformation, but here I am. The second reason I am in transformation is one thing which I'm seeing with digital transformation is machines are learning and intelligent is getting highly artificial. So with that, I personally feel that the humans are actually one who are actually running the show, that is business. And it's very important for me or people in my profession to tap the human emotion and unlock their potential, that will help them to navigate this transformation seamlessly. So that's the second reason why I am here. And third, it's more about me being passionate, and this field actually gives me an opportunity to work with a lot of different kinds of people. uh, Before COVID, it allowed me to travel to different cities, different countries, to understand the cultural nuances and then to weave this transformation into. And that's where I am here today. So that's the brief which I can give you, Isabelle, that who I am and why I am into HR transformation.
This is fantastic. I really like how you were able to put, the skills that you learn in psychology to work for a company and help people through this change because we're really talking about change that is very, very fast at the moment where you have to take people through that emotionally as well and really get back on their feet. Really, it's a big transformation very quickly in a few months. So, what do you see as new expectations in the workplace since the beginning of this crisis and as accelerated in this crisis?
Well, so luckily, I am in a company which is talking all about the workspace, and we do research into this space heavily. I mean, we constantly are reading through in terms of observing what will be the new normal look like, and we are trying to prototype what the new normal will look like. However, as per our research and my own personal observation and interaction, I would say that since the pandemic and post pandemic, one thing which I am seeing as a change or the shift, which I would say is happening, is we are moving more towards a project based role than the segmented functional based role. So what is happening with pandemic, people have to become agile. which was more of a concept in IT, but it's now getting adopted in other industry, and people have to come together from various fields, have to look for a solution for a customer which is oriented from different angles, and quickly put that team together and accelerate the solutions and be flexible to execute the solutions. So I would say one is those that kind of shift. It is becoming more project based rather than segmented to department. The second shift which I am seeing, or is going to happen, is having a mixed presence. When I say mixed presence, what does it mean? Work from home, especially in countries like Asia, was not that much like a necessity. But because of pandemic, it has become now both an option or a necessity. As things are opening up, it is both, and companies will have to now understand that they will have to give this kind of control and choice to the employees to ensure that when they need to come to office and when they can actually work from home, depending on the role, on the task, and on the project that they are doing. So that's the other thing which I am seeing as a change in the workplace to happen. The third and most important, according to me, is the holistic well-being. So a lot of companies have given emphasis on providing physical infrastructure so far, but gradually with pandemic and post-pandemic, there will be a need to provide emotional and cognitive well-being. Now, what do I mean by emotional and cognitive? Because during pandemic, it has so happened that people have been working from home. In Asia, the homes are not as huge as it's in Europe. So what happens is there are family members, there are kids around, and one has to manage the meetings while keeping other things in place. So emotionally, it's a bit tiring and draining for an individual to ensure all this. But then companies will have to adopt to this kind of things and try to see how they can avoid these distractions and keep their focus still on the work. So that's the kind of shift which I am seeing that's going to happen. The first two, I am already seeing that companies have started adopting it. The third one, I know that to certain extent, mental health has become important part of the corporate initiatives, and moving forward, even cognitive will be the part of the holistic well-being. So I would say that those are the three things which I can say from my experience that will bring along the change in workplace.
Yeah, that's what I've been observing as well. I mean, definitely more agility, to think quickly on one's feet. And also this part about psychology, we go back to psychology because the fact that people are not in an office setting and they're working from home, it's a whole dynamic that's changing, and there could be some isolation as well. And as I like to say, a lot of things that used to happen around the coffee machine and decisions and meeting with colleagues and solving maybe a problem in front of a coffee machine, now you have to figure out how to make those links between people who are working from home and a bit isolated. So I think we get now to what you're working on a bit more precisely with your program. So what was the trigger to in your company to say we want to think about a way to make this happen, especially with leadership, and help them thrive and get the resources and the skills that are needed?
Okay, so honestly, Isabel, we being a global organization, we definitely have our leadership program, the standard offering in place. The trigger for designing something for Asia Pacific was because Asia market is very, very dynamic. It changes rapidly. So, this was before pandemic that we had seen this situation. And with pandemic, it just accelerated a bit more. And, we were like, okay, with this situation, this definitely demands that we need to equip our people in a way that will help them to navigate this change and adopt to this change in a faster pace. So that was one of the trigger point. The other is our company within Asia, I would say, is located in dispersed locations. So I would say there is a team of a particular function which is located in India. It is also located in KL. It's also located in Australia. But the way it functions within each region is little different because again, our market, our business strategy in Asia Pacific is also different from our EMEA and America's market. So hence, this was the main trigger. This was the main trigger point for us to start thinking that we need something which is more focused for our APAC leaders, and we need to design something which will help them to navigate this change in a seamless manner, or if not navigate the change seamlessly, but at least to adopt that, these are the things, and get ready for the future.
Yeah, getting ready for the future is also a big key point there. People are not ready necessarily with when I do research and I find out about the trends and all the skills that people will need for tomorrow, or let's say even today. People are not necessarily prepared for this. So, could you tell us a little bit about your initiative? What were some of the primarily findings about leadership needs that you found to drive performance, or to also maybe work on mindset, or the psychology part, which is really your field?
Yes. So yeah, so I would like to answer this question in two parts. There are a lot of things involved in this, so let me try to simplify and answer this question. So the first part is I would like to share what is the basic philosophy of leadership in our company, which will give me a base to explain what exactly I am doing for APAC leadership program. So our philosophy in company with Steelcase definitely is that it does not follow the conventional way of designing leadership programs or defining leadership competency. So when I entered in this company 9 months back, my first thing was, oh, I have to rethink how I am going to look at this. So here in Steelcase, we follow a brain-based method, which is from the neuro leadership institute. And what it says is that, rather than focusing or having an exhaustive list of things or competency, to have list of things which are able to recall and relatable to our leaders. So hence what happens, there is a complete shift from knowing everything to being realistic, which will be easy to recall and easy to relate to in your day to day life. So, with this principle, with this philosophy, they have actually designed, excuse me, with this philosophy, they have actually designed the whole of, I would say, our leadership expectations or principles of the company. And it is so simple that it says that from psychology point of view, I'm sure you would have heard, and many listeners would have known, that we remember seven plus or minus items while we try to read anything. So the leadership principles that we designed were comprising of seven or max to max nine words. So that, when our leaders are reading it, it's easy for them to recall. And when it's easy for them to recall, it's easy for me to demonstrate as a leader. And when it's easy to demonstrate, I am saying that it's easy to relate to, because I would then make decisions saying that, is it something that I'm able to relate to? So, answering the three questions, we when this philosophy is very simple, it answers three questions. Can I remember this? Is it something that is adding value or is helping me in doing my work? And is it something that I can, do I care about it? So, based on these three questions, it became simple for us that we design principles which are simple, easy to remember, I would say sticky, meaningful, and coherent. And with this philosophy, yeah, sorry.
No, I love the idea. Keep going. I'm very interested.
Yeah, so with this philosophy, we designed our leadership principles, and based on those principles, then comes the second part, which I would say is about developing the leadership program for APAC. Now, me being coming from the traditional mind thought initially, I was like, okay, is there any specific behaviors designed for the mid managers, for the top managers? So, my first question when the project was assigned to me, I was like, can I have a more detailed descriptions of these behaviors? I mean, what at each level the person has to do? So my managers and superiors just give me a smile and they are like, no, you need to read up. You need to understand how this actually works. And based on that, you need to rethink how you would like to design the leadership program. So, based on this philosophy, then I understood that the three main pillars that Steelcase focuses on is people, purpose, and progress. It's three P's that comes in play, and I have to keep that in mind whenever I am designing leadership initiative, because everything revolves around this three P's here. And based on that, then I started looking into things. So I had to then do a data synthesis. So what happened with this leadership need last year, somewhere in November, December, we started interacting with our leadership team to understand what is their expectation as a leaders from others when they are becoming or budding leaders of the company. What do they expect? So we did a focused interview with each of our leadership team members. We collected that data. We found there were five odd themes that were emerging from our interaction. Later on, we had this leadership principles which were there for companies, so we had to keep those also in mind. And then what I did was, instead of benchmarking with other companies of a similar industry or to check, what is happening in the other industry, I tried to pull out what are the some of the common competencies, leadership competencies, which are required at all the leadership level. And luckily, we do have something on HBR which helps us to get more knowledge on it. So I pulled together all this data and I did some data synthesis, based on which I was like, okay, I have to be somewhere thinking, on this lines, and I have to curl it down to something which is doable for APAC, knowing that by that time we had COVID, which already came to the market, and we had to start rethinking how we were helping our leaders in this particular times. And at the same time, I had to think how my leadership journey will look like. So there were three themes, which again were very simple and falling in the three pillars of people, progress, and purpose. So the three themes which I came up with after my data synthesis was grow self, mobilize others, and shape the future. So, with these three themes, under these three themes, what I have done is I have identified couple of behaviors which will be the target while we are getting into the development journey. And this journey will go for almost 6 months, because we feel that if leadership skills has to be developed in an individual, it cannot be just a 5 day program or a 2 day program. It has to be like a journey, and in this journey they have to ensure that the new habits are inculcated in them and they are able to practice in their day to day life. So hence our entire journey is going to be a little more holistic, where we'll be doing leadership assessment, identifying the learning edges, and then trying to link it with the learning practices, action learning practices, and then getting them through this 6 months journey, where each month there will be one particular behavior, or I would say a topic, to address, and this will be addressed in different way: e-learning, virtual learning, social learning, case based. Then there will be an guest speakers sessions and an action learning plan. So holistically we are trying it everything together, and we are making it something which will help our leaders to navigate this change, or make it future ready for them.
This is so interesting what you're saying about the continuous aspect, because I've done a lot of management programs myself when I was working in corporate. And usually, this is the missing link, is that you have the great program where it lasts. It could be 3 days, 4 days. We've had programs sometimes a whole week. We take people outside and they study for 5 days. But in the end, it's what's happening after that. So you have the learnings, but if you don't apply them, and I do the same thing when I coach people and they ask me, well, what is the best course, or, all those things. Well, in the end, the course is just the beginning, or the learning the theory is one thing, but then you need to practice every day. And as I tell people, it's just rehearsing and rehearsing and doing it over and over. And that's how you become the habit, of what you're doing, and you become good at something. So giving the space for people to practice and also give feedback, is the way to go in getting, as you say, these new behaviors really into the person's body in a way, you know. And it's the same thing with us now working on digital. I've been on digital now for a while, but for I see new people that are now on camera, getting used to speaking online now is becoming something people are interested in. How do I speak in front of a camera? And how do I run my conference calls?
Yeah.
Someone asked me this the other day. How do I run my conference calls? You can't really see people. You don't know how what they're thinking, etc. So now we have these new skill set that we need to be effective as well. And I think your program sounds like it's going in that direction. And hopefully, for people watching us, that could be some food for thought and something they could do in their organization to help connecting the dots between all these isolated workers in their home office. So I like the idea,
Yeah,
definitely.
and we have kept everything virtual right now, knowing we really don't know when we are going back full-fledged in office and when we can actually conduct the classroom sessions. Ideally, we would like to, because most of our APAC needs are like that every leader wants to come to classroom, so that that's the chance to interact with the other leaders, to exchange new ideas and to collaborate. But knowing we are in such different times, we have tried a new methodology, and yeah, we have almost done one experiment with it. I would not say the entire journey is been done, but we have done one experiment, and so far, yes, it's working fine. And we will soon now start the journey of 6 months in APAC.
That sounds great, and I hope it works out exactly the way you want. So, how can companies, if you were to think now about other companies, how can companies cope with this transformation happening in the workforce or in the workplace? What are some of the tips to ease that process? Even if you don't have a program right now, so you're a company, maybe even you're a small company, or you're a solopreneur like myself. So maybe you have a few tips to help people through this transformation.
So yeah, I mean, I would say this word transformation, which is also one of my title in the company, where I am the consultant of leadership and of transformation. I would say transformation these days is a word which is used every now and then, and it has actually a different meaning to an individual and to the companies, depending at what stage the company is, and what exactly the company is trying to achieve, what's their goal. So I would say that's where actually is a turnaround time, where you actually understand what transformation means to you. When I say you, it can be an individual, it can be a company. So it's very important that firstly, whenever you think of transformation, people get actually worried, and it's such a heavy word that it scares you. Oh my god, I have to go through this. Even if it's just a self discovery journey for an individual, and if somebody comes and says, the experts like me who is from psychology would say, oh, you need to undergo a transformation journey, it will be like, oh, what are you talking, really? So I think the word transformation will mean differently, and especially in companies with this disruption and the market turnaround, I would say it will mean either to create a value, to unlock new opportunities, or it would be something called as to drive new growth, or it would be to deliver new efficiencies. So it can be either of this, and it can be an incremental change, or it can be the whole system change. So depending on that, I would say that it's important you navigate this change when it comes to a system change or something which you are trying to deliver the value. The best thing which I use, and which even in this company I have tried it out with one of my projects, which was again early this year, before pandemic actually hit us. And the simple thing which I say is follow a 4A approach. Now, what does this 4A stand for? One is anticipation. With pandemic, I would say anticipation is more in here and now rather than in the distant future, because so far the leaders and each of us are so tuned to think about future. What will happen next? What is it going to be like? but the situation that we all are in, it's demanding us to anticipate or at least try to gauge what will happen in year and near future. So it's forcing us to actually start living in here and now moment, which is more of being in present. And when you are actually in present, you will naturally know how to then navigate the future. So I would say anticipate. The first A is anticipate. The second part of A is articulate. Yeah, it's important that you need to articulate what exactly you want to change, or why, what and why behind the change, so that you get a collective understanding from everybody. Now this will be, the why part will be what's in it for me as an individual or as an employee, and what's in it for the organization, why this change is happening for organization level. There has to be some benefit, right? And until and unless my leader will not show me that big picture, it's impossible for me to then understand why this is happening. And after showing the big picture, it's equally important how it's going to impact to me, or how is it that I am going to benefit out of it. So if that is spoken, it will create more support for the change that you are trying to drive in. The third A, I would say, is adoption. Now, in adoption, I would mean that, once you know that you are going to lay out this entire transformation, people have accepted and they have supported. Then is the continuous learning process. So, they are also trying to adopt. They will fail. They will make mistakes. So that's the opportunity where you will also learn whether this is working, needs some iteration or some readjustment, and basis on that, you will try to follow through. So, hence, I would say adoption is the third A. And the last one is accountability. Now, for me, this is very, very important, because I say that in many change, what will happen is the sponsor is being told that, he is responsible or she is responsible for the change. The change project manager is responsible. But honestly, to navigate any kind of transformation, one is the sponsor, but the sponsor then has to distribute the responsibility, which will allow each of them to take right decision at the right time, and to iterate and readjust, so that the adoption becomes easy, and then you can celebrate the success of the transformation. And in doing this entire process, this again, as I mentioned, the kind of transformation that you are looking for will depend on the higher goal of the transformation, whether it's incremental or it's a whole system change. If it's a whole system change, it's definitely a long term journey, and you will break it into the smaller parts of 6 months journey or 1 year journey. And likewise, what is the end goal after 3 years or after 5 years. And if it's a incremental change, definitely it can be anywhere from 2 to 3 months to 12 months. So, in those cases, your wins will be celebrated in 2 weeks' time, in 4 weeks' time, and it's definitely required. So I would give this simple tip that, follow 4 A's in your life. Like the saying goes, an apple keeps a doctor away. So keep your apple, A for apple, always being there, and keep this 4 A's right in front of you when you are actually making any kind of transformation.
This is excellent tips there that you're giving, because I think it is applicable to, it could be a big company, small and medium size, or even an individual. I mean, it's really those things that you need to go through and to keep in mind, to go through those changes. And I also could say, I like the idea of the A, because you know how there's the saying, one apple a day takes the doctor away. So you could even say, this apple is your key to staying employable, to bringing value to your organization, but also to your community, and always staying, within that movement of being flexible. We go back to what you said earlier, this agility, especially for people who are maybe not used to it yet, having this as a reminder every day, because it's going to be a day per day, embracing this change day per day and adopting it as time goes by. And I really like this idea of the A's for sure, as a case study.
Great.
So
I'm glad.
So, what would be one or two last tips, maybe to build a successful, and this is maybe more for people who are in HR or in, uh, just dealing with changes within organizations. Last tips to build a successful and engaged talent pool post COVID, or even I would say now as we're speaking, where we're still in it actually.
So, according to me, Isabel, I would say there are two things which any leader, any individual, or any organization can follow. And that is one is to create psychological safety. When I say psychological safety, it's about, making an employee or making an individual feel safer in the organization is very, very important. And this can be done in different ways. So it can be in a form of speaking up. So if there is a psychological safety, then I know that I will speak up. I will speak up about my ideas. I will speak up about the decision that my colleague is trying to make, and I will say, okay, whether it's right or wrong, whether it will work or not work, but I will be able to speak up as a devil's advocate also, and as a friend also, that okay, well, this may work, let's just give it a try. So creating that psychological safety is important, and it will also allow people to safely actually take risk and make mistakes when we are in such changing times where every day actually something new is evolving in market. To be very honest, when I am in India, I know that we first, when we started our lockdown, we just thought that it will last for a couple of months, but it's almost 6 months and we are still in the lockdown phase. It's the highest amount of time compared to any other countries, and the kind of turmoil it is creating for us, it's at a different level. But here, when my manager just, the simple statement my manager used, that this will not last for longer, this itself was like, oh yes, this is not going to be there for longer, probably 6 months, probably 12 months, probably 18 months. Then I was also able to accept this in a very natural way, and it created that kind of safer environment, conducive environment, and inclusive environment for me to share whatever was coming to my mind, whether it was ideas, or at times an anxious thought, oh my god, what will happen next. So I was able to actually express both my anxious, my ideas, my creative stuff whenever I had that psychological safety. And it also allowed me to experiment, because this was a time where nobody knew what is the right solution. Everybody had to experiment, and to experiment, it's important that company or a manager allows me to take that risk. It's like fail fast, learn faster. So that's something which I would say, that creating psychological safety, minimizing the amount of threat at individual, at team, and at the environmental level is something I would give as one of the tip. The second tip which comes to my mind is reinforce continuous learning. It's not just the digital era which is demanding you to upskill yourself, but it's time which is actually making you think that what you thought about a particular career pathway or for yourself may not actually exist, knowing the kind of crisis that we have hit, the kind of economy turndown that we are experiencing. Probably we may want to reinvent ourselves. We may want to reinvent the way we approach work, the way we handle team, the way we have so far done our business. So to ensure business continuity, I would say it's equally important to reinforce continuous learning, which will allow people not just to learn on the job, but to give some time and space to share the new knowledge or new way of doing things, and also with psychological safety to experiment those. So these are two tips I think comes to my mind if anybody wants to navigate or engage their talent pool in a right manner.
Yeah, and I think it comes at the perfect time because even in Europe, we don't really know what's going to happen in the winter. I mean, we're still at the beginning now, so I think there's some anxiety also around. We had a lockdown, obviously, but there's also some anxiety about what kind of measures will be brought to us. So the fact that you already experienced it also yourself, and you're able to say, look, as long as you keep communicating and sharing your fears also, because people are in their companies, they don't really know how they're going to make it work, with the work from home, etc. So always sharing concerns and getting some support also. I think this is the time really where you need to have supporting organizations, where not just supporting, as you said, in terms of the technical part, do you have a comfortable desk, all these things, which is very important, and that's actually the purpose of your company. So that's very important. And then there's the what goes with it, which is really how do you keep everybody engaged, how do you keep everyone emotionally safe, where they think maybe that's it, my job is over, etc. So to keep giving also people purpose, and an interest in what it is that they do, because when you're at home, sometimes you're a little bit disconnected, as I said earlier, from what's going on. And how to keep people motivated is really telling them also that they need to speak out when they feel that things are not going well, or they need maybe to talk to other colleagues or have a call with their manager or something like that. So yeah, I think what you said is extremely inspirational, and it's coming at the perfect timing. I believe that other countries may be faced also with more lockdowns or more restrictions, and they will have to work from home longer. So they will need to build this safety, this mindset, this resilience that's going to get them through it, because we
Yeah.
don't know for how long. Obviously, none of us know. So I really appreciate this last part, particularly, I think.
Yeah, it's very important because to create resilience, to become agile while being resilient, I think the psychological safety aspect is very, very important.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. So, well, any last thoughts or something you wanted to add?
Nothing. I know that we are all are in a different phase of lockdowns. I know few countries in Europe have already started. People are at least able to commute to the nearby cities or to the nearby countries. But I would just say that stay safe. Uh, it's such times that we definitely are tempted that we want our normal life back, but at the same time, we are sailing through something which nobody had ever thought of. So I would say stay safe, be mindful, and be wise in whatever you are doing, whether it's at a personal level or at a professional level, because the times are very different. And I am sure that many of you may be really be happy because you may see this as an opportunity to do a lot of new things. Some of you may also be little worried what's going to come next and whether you will be able to do it or not. But I would say that the times are such, just look at the positive because nothing lasts for longer. And each one of us definitely has capability and an insight on how to deal with this unknown factor also in our lives. So stay safe, stay wise, stay mindful. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much. Really great to have spoken to you. I mean, it's amazing all the resources. I mean, really, I see that as a lot of resources that you're providing in this live talk today. So, really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Isabelle. It was really a nice experience for me, and I hope the listeners get good insights. In case if they have any questions, I will be happy to take them.
Yes, I will put your LinkedIn profile as a link below if people want to contact you directly. Maybe they have some additional questions. Maybe they want to know even more about your very, very interesting initiative. So I thank you again for this.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time too.
Bye.
Bye bye.